Assalamualaikum to everyone. Today we're learning Arabic from Alif to Ya. Let's get started. The first one is Alif.
I'm spraying in. Oh, what if the my voice was flat?
This is commercial. Alif.
Oh, yes!
Welcome to Tartili Quran, the trusted online resource for learning the correct way of reading the Holy Quran. Do you have a busy or inconsistent schedule and find it hard to consistently attend classes? Do you live in a non-Arabic country and find it difficult to find Quran and Islamic teaching? Then online learning
Alif.
Welcome to Tartili Quran, the trusted online resource for learning the correct way of reading the Holy Quran.
Alif, Ba, Ta, Ba, Jim, Ha, Ha, Dal, Dal, Ra, Sa, Sin, Shin, Sa, Da, Da, Ain, Qain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Nun, Nun. It's Alif, Ba, Ta, Ba, Jim, Ha, Ha. And it's the conducting. This Arabic is very interesting. Bingo.
Yeah, Leo just stole my kill. I literally hit both of them. Yeah, I hit one 150 and then 40, and then you just came along and then both I'm coming to y'all. I'm just building over my way.
Alif, Ba, repeat after me. Alif,
Oh shit, they're over here.
Ba,
I help them.
Ta, Ba, Jim, Ha, Qaf, Dal, Ra, Sa, Sin, Shin, Sa, Da, Da, Ain, Qain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Nun, Waw, Ha, Hamza, Na Alif, Hamza, Ya. Make sure you have a pencil, and notebook, so you can write it and remember it. Again, it's like this. Alif, Ba, Ta, Ba, Jim, Ha, Qaf, Dal, Dal, Ra, Sa, Shin, Sa, Da, Ain, Qain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Nun, Waw, Ha, Na Alif, Hamza, Ya. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Arabic is very important for us, for our religion, so we can teach the Quran, so we can learn the Quran much easier. We can teach the Quran to other people. So you can, for example, you can teach the Quran to your kids, if your kids in the future or not. Here's the connection.
Crouch, idiot! Stay on while you're healing. Now they know where you're
Here's
at.
the class.
I got this. You are
Fatiha,
distraction. Run away from me.
Fatiha, Qasr, and Dhamma.
You are 190 on one, kill one.
It's Cat, Li, Hu. Ja, Ji, Ju. Sha, Shi, Shu. Ya, Yi, Yu. Da, Di, Du. Ka, Li, Lu. Na, Li, Lu. Ka, Li, Lu. Da, Di, Du. Da, Di, Du. Ta, Ti, Tu. Sa, Si, Su. Sa, Si, Su. Sa, Za, Si, Su. da di do, da di do, fa di do, fa di do, wa we do,
Why did you do
fa
that? Why did
di
you do
do,
that?
na we do,
They're all on him.
and his special. It's all together.
Help, I swear to God, help. Help. I'm gonna heal up. Thank you for the money. I don't have any heal.
The next is mat. If you make it that longer, mat, me, no, ba, be, boo. The database is very interesting to everyone. Database is very important to us. So you can use on much easier instead of wasting someone's time.
Oh, you're on me. He doesn't even know it. Oh, two on me, three on me actually. Three. Oh, three, I think. Yeah, all three. I'm rushing.
Fataha, still Fataha.
40 on this guy. He's healing. 40.
Still Fataha.
Rest me like how I did you. Finish him before his teammate doesn't know
Right there, you see the red is
Oh my God.
Shukun. And then you see this sometimes, you see this mostly.
Almost. If we were wearing the same skin, it would have been call it. Yo, stop doing this! Stop doing this to me!
Right there is the small scene you're supposed to call Sun.
This guy keeps on editing me down.
You mostly see this in the Quran. The next chapter is
Yeah,
chapter 3.
yeah, I was trying to do Oh, Daniel, we double cooked them. Oh my God.
Ali, Ba, Ta, Ba, Jim, Ha, Qua, Dal, Dal, Ra, Da, Sin, Shin, Fa, Da, I, Boy, Fa, Qua, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Nun, Wong, Ha, Hamza, Na Alif, Hamza, yeah. You see this? Right there, you see that? Right there? You see this? The surah called Surah Maryam.
Yeah, I'm on them.
You see this Surah Maryam too?
I'm on them. I see all of them. right there.
A, I, U, Ha, Hi, Hu, Qa, A, I, U, Ha, Hi, Hu, A, I, U.
Come on, I have the wall and everything.
The next thing is shapes. Let's get started.
I knocked him. I'm gonna shake inside the house.
You'll find out why color is very important to you. Let's get started.
You silly! Yeah, I'm drinking!
You'll find out why color is very important to you. Let's get started.
I have only 7.
Dear Tim and Moby, I need to know all about color. From Nadia. That's a tall order. Where should we start? Okay, but we have to explain the electromagnetic spectrum before that's going to make any sense. The electromagnetic spectrum is the name for a bunch of types of radiation, including visible light. Like all waves, light waves have a wavelength. That's the distance from crest to crest. The crest is the highest point on a wave. Waves also have a frequency, or number of wavelengths that pass a particular point per second. When the wavelength increases, frequency decreases. Low-frequency waves have a low level of energy. When wavelength decreases, frequency increases. High-frequency waves carry more energy. Electromagnetic waves are organized by their wavelength and frequency. Radio waves, microwaves, infrared light, visible light, ultraviolet light, X-rays, and gamma rays are some of the main types of electromagnetic waves. Most electromagnetic waves are invisible to us, but we can see the waves that fall in the spectrum called visible light. Our eyes register different wavelengths of visible light as color. The main colors we can see have been defined as red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Actually, Moby, people can see thousands and thousands of different colors. We stick with those 7s just to keep things simple. Anyway, all of the colors, or wavelengths of visible light, combine to make white light. And like I said, light looks white to us, but really it's a combination of colors. Objects absorb different amounts of light energy. The grass in your yard looks green because it absorbs those red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, and violet waves, but reflects the green ones. The green waves bounce into our eyes, and we see the grass is green. The same goes for that old sneaker. The stuff it's made of reflects red light and absorbs all the others. Practically any color can be made from mixing the primary colors of light, red, green, and blue. When these colors overlap, they produce new colors of light. Here, for instance, your brain interprets the overlap of red and green waves as yellow. Well, yeah, that's only to mix colors of light. Pigments that are used in paint can be mixed to make lots of colors too, but mixing paint is a bit different from mixing light. The 3 primary pigment colors are cyan, yellow, and magenta. Yellow pigment absorbs blue light and reflects red and green light. And you'll remember, your brain sees this as yellow. Mix all 3 primary pigment colors together and you get black. Now? Can't you practice on a bowl of fruit or something? How long do I have to stay still? That's what I was afraid of.
I didn't even know.
The next thing is Nani, one of the characters.
Did you even come? I'm not even here yet. Protect me so I come.
One of the do here.
Yo, I'm still not even. Dude, they just shotgunned me, yo. I'm literally not here. I'm literally in a black screen. Cause I couldn't see shit. Yo.
Dear Tim and Moby, is behavior the same thing as instinct? From Kimmy. Well, sort of, but not completely. Behavior is the way that an organism acts in its environment. Behaviors can be instinctive, but they can also be learned. Instinct, or inherited behavior, is something you're born with. Like baby mammals are born knowing how to suckle, and baby birds are born knowing to peck at their parents' beaks for food. Innate behaviors are genetically hardwired into an animal's nervous system, so the stimulus, such as bright light, will cause a specific response, like blinking. Other stimuli can include things like heat, noise, or anything that arouses the senses. Innate behavior can range from simple to complex. The simplest kinds of innate behaviors are automatic movements, like those toward or away from a stimulus. For example, microorganisms that use light to make food will automatically move towards light. Yeah, in some ways, it's like when you jerk your hand back after touching something hot. That's a reflex, a rapid involuntary response to some stimulus. Other instinctive behaviors include things like courtship between males and females. That's sort of like flirting in people, except peacocks don't pass notes to each other in class. Then there are fear responses, when an animal's heart rate increases and its body releases stress hormones in response to something it sees as dangerous. Learned behaviors, on the other hand, develop when animals interact with their environments. They're behaviors that an organism wouldn't know how to do without some outside influence. For the most part, animals learn behavior by imitation, teaching, or trial and error. Things like eating with utensils, blowing your nose with a tissue, and clapping at the end of a concert are examples of learned human behaviors. Learned behaviors aren't just for humans, though. Habituation is when an animal learns to get used to some stimulus enough to ignore it. And conditioning is a way for animals to learn to do things, often through trial and error. Well, it can be really hard to tell the difference between something instinctive and something that animals have to learn. Stuff like language. I mean, we know it's instinctive on some level because pretty much all humans do it. But we also know that it's learned because we had to be taught to speak by someone. You may have heard the phrase nature versus nurture. That's the name of a debate some scientists have about which human behaviors are learned and which are instinctive. It's kind of a fake debate, though. Scientists agree that a lot of behavior is shaped by both genes and by environment. Ow! I always do that. You think I would... You'd think I'd learn. Thanks.
Tell me everything that happened. Are they audio? Oh, right. I know what. 172 on 1. 172 on 1. 172. What's his teammate? Wrong teammate? I finished them off. Let's go! Let's go!
The next thing is to learn why is very important to us. Let's get started. First is nature water.
Phew. Took me all day to move that topsoil. Dear Tim and Moby, I'm doing a report on natural resources. Is air considered a natural resource? From Marty. Well, natural resources include anything in nature that people value. Since the atmosphere contains the oxygen we breathe and the carbon dioxide that plants use for photosynthesis, I'd say that air qualifies as a natural resource. Well, there are lots of different kinds of natural resources. Like other organisms, we depend on clean water and air. And we use energy sources like fossil fuels, wood, wind, and sunlight for everything from running cars to powering entire cities. The Earth's crust contains valuable mineral resources like metals and other elements. Even plants and animals are natural resources. It's actually pretty amazing how much use we put our planet to. No, plastic isn't a natural resource because it doesn't occur on its own in nature. It's made from oil, though, which is a natural resource. Get it? People generally divide natural resources into two main categories, renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources include any natural resource that can replenish itself or that has a seemingly unlimited supply. Fish and forests are renewable resources because they're both living things that can reproduce. The sun is considered a renewable source of energy because it's probably going to last into the distant future. Non-renewable resources include natural resources that are in limited supply or that take a long time to create. Fossil fuels and minerals fall into the category of non-renewable resources. There's only a certain amount of each on Earth at any time.
This is where everybody says.
No, just because a resource is renewable doesn't mean it can never run out. A forest can be chopped down much faster than it can regrow. And even though soil is produced naturally over time, soil erosion is a big problem for a lot of countries. Right, that's why it's important for people to take good care of our natural resources. It's easy to take renewable resources like air and water for granted, but pollution can quickly make our environment almost unlivable. That's why there's so much research going into renewable energy sources like wind, hydroelectricity, and solar power. They make more sense than fossil fuels because they'll never run out, and they don't pollute as much. Well, that's the idea behind conservation. Everyone can do their part to conserve or save our natural resources. At home, you can recycle all paper, plastic, and aluminum products. Easing up on the use of air conditioning and heating just a little bit saves money and fuel. And you can save a lot of water just by turning off the faucet while you brush your teeth. This soil? I'm building a Norse burial mound for my action figures. Wanna help?
110.
Farewell, Commander Ozone. We hardly knew ye.
Yeah, that's the...
Plot a solution. Flood tubes 1 and 2. Incoming! Don't make fun of my hobbies. Dear Tim and Moby, where does all the water in rain come from? Signed, Steven. Well, there's always a certain amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. It comes from the Earth's surface water, like oceans, rivers, and lakes. Water from these sources evaporates, changing from a liquid to a gas. Down here on the ground, you usually can't see the water vapor that's all around us. But higher up in the atmosphere, gaseous water cools down and condenses into clouds. When water molecules in clouds collect into big enough drops, they fall on us as rain. Or as snow, sleet, or hail, depending on the temperature. Water is constantly cycling from land to air and back again. As you might have guessed, this process is known as the water cycle. Scientists study it because water is such an important part of the ecosystem. Every living thing on the planet depends on a clean supply of water. Well, you can think of the water cycle as the Earth's circulatory system. Just like there's a fixed amount of blood circulating through your body, there's a fixed amount of water cycling around, over, and inside our planet. All that water is known as the hydrosphere. The sun is the heart that pumps water around the hydrosphere. Its heat energy breaks the bonds between water molecules, causing them to evaporate from oceans, lakes, rivers, even plants. You're right, water returns to the Earth through precipitation, also known as rain, snow, sleet, and hail. Sometimes, water flows across the surface of the Earth as something called runoff. Runoff adds to the flow of streams and rivers. Or water can soak into the ground in a process called infiltration. Water that's infiltrated the ground is called groundwater. It can stay beneath the surface anywhere from a few days to thousands of years. This groundwater feeds wetlands, lakes, and streams, and supplies us with water for drinking, farming, and lots of other stuff. The water cycle's been going on for billions of years, circulating the same supply of water over and over and over again. The same exact water molecule a dinosaur drank from a pond 100 million years ago could be inside the glass of water you drink today. And check this out, even though water is constantly moving through the hydrosphere, the amount in any one part of the cycle never changes. Well, take the ocean. It contains about 97% of all the water in the hydrosphere. It loses a huge amount to evaporation every day, but it makes up that same amount from groundwater, precipitation, and rivers. So, the amount of water in the atmosphere and the amount of water on the Earth's surface stays perfectly balanced all the time. It's kind of like a big, beautiful machine. No, not as beautiful as you.
The next thing is we know is one of the planets is distant.
I'm trying! Okay, just listen to me.
Self-destruct? Why?
I got the wall. No, I don't have the wall.
Well, I will not turn my key. I quit.
I have the wall. Nope, I don't. I have the wall. Bro, this thing has really keyboard from shit.
Dear Tim and Moby, what other planets besides Earth have life on them? From Marvin. Despite what you see in movies and on TV, Earth is the only planet known to support life. Well, you won't tell me where you're from, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, changing subjects. Let's look at why life can exist on Earth. Earth is the third planet from the Sun. That helps keep the temperature here just right for life. Life as we know it can't exist on planets where it's too hot, like on Mercury. Or planets where it's too cold, like on Neptune. Earth's atmosphere also plays an important role in keeping the conditions on Earth comfortable for life. It traps the sun's heat while blocking harmful radiation. Earth's atmosphere also contains 21% oxygen, which many life forms need to survive. 71% of the Earth is covered in water, which all living things rely on in one way or another. Earth's called the blue planet because of all that water. Also, all life as we know it is based on the element carbon, which is found all through the Earth's crust. Let's see, Earth is the 5th largest planet in the solar system. Its mass gives it a gravitational pull strong enough to keep us stuck on the planet. But not so strong that it crushes us. Also, Earth has an iron inner core, and it's surrounded by a liquid outer core. Scientists believe that the magnetic field created by this liquid outer core shields the planet from dangerous cosmic rays and solar winds. Yeah, everything needed to support life came together on this one planet. No, I think I may be getting too old for this game. I mean, that's a box. I am not upset that your spaceship is faster. Yours isn't faster. Mine's faster.
Yo, join my team. No.
A carton of cigarettes? I don't know how they do things in France, mister, but here in America, we have rules about kids buying those. Dear Tim and Moby, my brother smokes and I want him to stop. Can you give me some facts about smoking? From Sarah. Well, let's see. Smoking causes deadly illnesses like emphysema, lung cancer, and heart disease. It ups your chances of getting sick and injured, slows you down in sports, gives you bad breath, makes you cough, and stinks up your whole life. And it exposes your friends and family to dangerous secondhand smoke. Well, cigarettes are made of a plant called tobacco, plus hundreds of other substances, like ammonia, a harsh chemical used in cleaning products, cadmium, a toxic metal that's common in rechargeable batteries, and formaldehyde, which is used to preserve dead bodies. None of these are things you want inside your lungs. Some natural cigarette brands have no additives, but they're still terrible for you. That's because when you burn tobacco, the smoke contains thousands of other chemicals. Dozens of them are carcinogenic, known to cause cancer. Yeah, I don't know why they're even legal. Cigarettes stop your lungs from doing their job. They're supposed to take in oxygen so it can be carried to the rest of your body. But tobacco smoke contains a substance called tar. It's a sticky mixture of those dangerous chemicals we talked about. Tar damages the cells in your lungs, making it harder to breathe. Over time, that damage can develop into cancer. In fact, smoking is the #1 cause of lung cancer. But it's not just your lungs that are at risk. Smoking damages your circulatory system and heart. It's one of the leading causes of heart disease. It also harms your skin, eyes, and liver. Pretty much every major organ in the body is damaged by smoking. Well, people start smoking for all kinds of reasons. They may think it makes them look cool, or do it because their friends or family members smoke. But once someone starts, it's really, really hard to quit. The reason for that is a drug in tobacco called nicotine. After it's inhaled, nicotine triggers the release of adrenaline. That's a chemical your body produces in scary or exciting situations. Adrenaline makes the heart beat faster, which increases blood pressure. Doing that over and over every day is not good for the heart. But this little adrenaline rush makes smokers feel alert and stimulated. Nicotine also triggers chemicals that make people feel relaxed. Smokers begin to rely on cigarettes to experience those feelings. They become addicted, which means they're unable to stop. At the same time, they develop a tolerance to nicotine. They need to use more and more of it to get the same pleasurable effects. Well, when smokers try to quit, they usually experience withdrawal. They can feel irritable, anxious, hungry, and restless. They may struggle to concentrate or go to sleep. People who stop smoking successfully usually need a lot of support. That's why it's way easier to just not start in the first place. Yeah, electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes contain nicotine too. They were first sold as a way to quit smoking. The idea is that over time you switch to ones with less and less nicotine. Eventually you switch to a nicotine-free version and voila, you're not addicted anymore. Unfortunately, these devices haven't been all that successful in getting people to quit cigarettes. If anything, they've become another way for people to get addicted to nicotine. They come in kid-friendly flavors like fruit or candy. And the ads often claim that they're a safe alternative to cigarettes. But as we've seen, nicotine puts stress on the circulatory system. That's why chewing tobacco isn't a safe option either. It contains all the nicotine of cigarettes, plus an added risk of mouth and gum cancers. I know it stinks, but you can't force someone to stop smoking. People have to decide to quit on their own. But that doesn't mean you can't help. If someone in your life smokes, let them know that you care about them, and that you're worried about their health. You can write them a note, or show them this movie, if that makes it easier to get the conversation going. It's really hard to break free of an addiction on your own. Fortunately, there's all kinds of help for those who want to quit. Like books with detailed strategies for breaking the nicotine habit, groups where ex-smokers meet to give each other support, and medicines that can help with those nicotine cravings. It can take a few weeks, or even a few months to quit for good. But the good news is that once you stop, your body immediately starts repairing the damage. Right, if you're trying to quit smoking, remember that you don't have to do it alone. Talk to a parent or another adult you trust. It's not the easiest thing to admit, but trust me, they'll be happier knowing that you're trying to stop. No, I don't think that's the best idea.
She knows we've got zero gift wrapping experience, right? Well, here goes nothing. Wow, that's a lot of fragrance. Dear Nat and Moby, how do you calculate surface area, and how is it useful? From Ms. Pointer's class. Great questions. Surface area is the total space on the faces of a three-dimensional object, like this box of Eau de Water. Knowing the surface area will tell us how much gift wrap we'll use to cover it. And Boss Lady said we better not use any more than we need, or else. Well, this box is a kind of prism, a three-dimensional shape that has two identical parallel faces. These bases tell you the type of prism you're dealing with. Like, this one's an octagonal prism, because the bases are octagons. And this box is a rectangular prism, because the bases are rectangles. Right, rectangular prisms are a little special. They're made up entirely of identical parallel faces. So really, you could call any of them the base. Alrighty, let's get to wrapping. First, we'll want to measure the edges of our prism. This box is 4 inches long, by 2 inches wide, by 10 inches tall. The simplest way to calculate surface area is to add up the areas of all the faces. We can do that by unfolding the object into a 2D shape called a net.
Oh.
Don't worry, we'll put it back together, eventually. Now we find each rectangle's area, multiplying length by width. Now add up all the rectangle's areas, in whatever order. So the total surface area is 136 square inches. Yep, there are all kinds of shortcuts you can take depending on the shape. Remember, this kind of prism is made entirely of identical pairs of rectangles. So we could take the area of one of each pair, add them up, and multiply by 2. Boom, 136, just like we got the long way around. Sorry, sir, my associate will get you all sorted out. Our first satisfied customer. We can do it, Moby. This big hunk of chocolate is a triangular prism. Let's try calculating its surface area without opening the box. We'll start again by taking measurements of all the edges. Then we'll tackle finding the area of the triangular bases. Base times height divided by 2, 6 square inches. Next, find the area of the other 3 faces, the rectangles. Just multiply length times width for each one and add them all up. Actually, yeah, we can calculate the non-base areas all at once. Since they all have the same length, they can unfold into one big rectangle, whose width is the perimeter of the base. So the area of those 3 faces is 240. Add that to the area of the 2 bases, and we get 252 square inches. Just stick some ribbon over the ripped parts. Happy holidays! Well, looky here. Those circular bases tell us that this is a cylinder. Holy Derby Day! Anyway, to find the surface area of this box, we'll need to measure the diameter and the height. Use the pi r squared formula to calculate the area of the circular base. Then we double that, since there are two bases. The cylinder's other face is really just a rolled up rectangle. So, to find the area, multiply length by width, which is actually the same as multiplying the base's circumference by the cylinder's height. Finally, adding the bases for a total surface area of 1,004.8 square inches. Darn, just a little short. There you go. Gift wrapping hats is bad luck anyway. Thank you. Next. These are cubes. The sides of a cube are all the...
I'll be back in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, we are in the same one. Oh, why did you like What's up, boy? Should I never kill my teammate, boy? No, his name is still
I'm back. Let's continue.
Same length, so all 6 faces are identical too. The sides of this cube are all 1 inch, so each face is 1 square inch. And there are 6 faces for a total surface area of 6 square inches. Hold up now, there are like 100 dice here.
125.
Wrapping each one individually would take a lot of effort and paper. 6 square inches times 125 is 750 square inches of paper. How about we arrange all of the dice together into one big 5 by 5 by 5 cube? Fewer surfaces exposed means less surface area, which will save us on paper. Each face of the cube is 25 square inches times 6 sides for a total of 150 square inches. That's only 1/5 the paper we need to wrap each die individually. Yep, a small sheet will do the job. We're on a roll. What's next? Wow, they really do have everything here. Oh, look at the time. Our shift is just about over. Sorry, fellas. That's a wrap.
I don't know who's the imposter. I know. Oh no. I know I played Among Us. Where am I supposed to go? Where am I? Okay, we're in the map. Observation. Where am I at right now? Right here.
Those are gantry cranes. They unload shipping.
How do I not know if you're an imposter? How do I not know? Oh, you watch that, what do you call it, that thing? Come here.
The next thing is the next.
I heard there might be an earthquake sometime soon. You big coward. Dear Tim and Moby, we're multiplying and dividing powers, and I am so lost. Can you help? From Jack. I had trouble with that too, until Moby straightened me out. Seeing 10 to the power of 2 can, well, it can freak you out. But 10 squared is just 10 times 10, and 10 times 10 equals 100. So, say we want to multiply 10 squared and 10 cubed. Powers that have the same base can be multiplied by adding their exponents. 10 to the power of 5 is 100,000. Let's check our math. We've already determined that 10 squared equals 100. 10 cubed is 10 times 10 times 10. That's 1,000. 100 times 1,000 is 100,000. Where's that Richter scale we made? The intensity of an earthquake is measured on something called the Richter scale. These numbers represent earthquake intensities in powers of 10. It's a little confusing, so pay attention. Remember that any number to the power of 0 equals 1, right? So, on the Richter scale, 10 to the power of 0 has an intensity of 1. 10 to the power of 1 has an intensity of 2, and so on. That's why the Richter scale number is always 1 less than the exponent. You got it. An earthquake that registers 8 on the Richter scale has an intensity of 10 to the power of 7. So, how many times more intense is an earthquake that measures 8 on the Richter scale than an earthquake that measures 5? We can find out by dividing. You divide powers that have the same base by subtracting their exponents. You've got 10 to the power of 7 minus 4, which equals 3. 10 to the power of 3 is 1,000. So that Richter 8 earthquake is 1,000 times more intense than the Richter 5 earthquake. Nice work, Moby.
Yo, it shows you if you're good or if you're bad. Look, if the girl turns green.
Oh, be quiet.
See, I told you. You can only use it once. I'm good. You saw me do the med-base thing. I'm staying with you. We're at the med-base. Yeah, I think so. No.
Pie. What kind of pie is it? Oh, blackberry's my favorite. Aren't you supposed to put the filling in the pie before you bake it? Dear Tim and Moby, how can I remember the order of operations? From Anthony. Well, as Moby can tell you, doing math is a lot like baking. You can't just do the operations in any old order. Let's take a look at a string of operations. The items inside parentheses come first in the order of operations. You do the stuff inside the parentheses before anything else. Next come the exponents. 3 squared is 9. Multiplication and division are next. You work those from left to right. And addition and subtraction come in last from left to right. And we're done. Well, if we ignore the order of operations, there's no telling what we'd end up with. The order of operations ensures that everybody ends up with the same correct answer. Hey, good question. When you come across multiple operations inside parentheses, you do those in the correct order too. Then you do the stuff outside. So, once again, parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication and division, and finally addition and subtraction. Well, there are easier ways to remember this, like saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Stop it. You're confusing people. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
I'm running. I'm running. Wait, clap is right here though. Clap is here. Clap is with me. Oh shit, I can see. Where's clap? Clap is right over. I dare one of y'all to kill me. Yeah, when I was first person, I dare you to kill me. Just kill someone already, imposter. Just kill someone. If you're the imposter, just kill. We're not gonna vote you out. We're gonna keep them.
Hey, watch where you're going.
Okay, fuck it. I'm going to kill.
Gee whiz, don't you know how to signal? Pass on the left, not the right. And that's what you get for ignoring the rules of the road. Dear Tim and Moby, I just got a new bike and I want to ride safely. What should I do? From Caitlin. Hey Caitlin, congratulations on your new bike. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with it as long as you take a few simple precautions. Robots can ride around like maniacs and crash into stuff. They don't feel pain and repairs are quick and easy. But when people aren't careful, they can get seriously hurt. The first thing you should do is adjust your bike so it fits you properly. If you don't do this, you'll be uncomfortable. That can distract you while you're riding and lead to serious pain. Your seat should be completely level so it doesn't tilt forward or backward. And it should be high enough so there's only a slight bend in your knee when you push the pedals all the way down. Your handlebars should be at the same level as your seat. Make sure that your tires are inflated to the proper pressure. And before you go anywhere, test your brakes to make sure they work. Otherwise... Moving on, you need to wear proper gear, especially a helmet. Well, you've got a metal head, so you don't need a helmet. And you're bright orange, so you're cool as far as clothing goes. But humans might want to wear a brightly colored shirt or even a safety vest. And they should always put reflectors or reflective tape on the front and backs of their bikes, as well as on the wheels and pedals. As far as helmets go, there are lots of different styles. You can choose whichever you like best, as long as it fits properly. Make sure both the helmet and the straps are snug, but not too tight. And be sure to wear it fairly low on your forehead, just 1 or 2 finger widths above your eyebrows. Right, once you've got the proper gear, you can hit the road. Of course, if you're younger than 10 years old, you might be safer biking on the sidewalk if you can. And whatever age you are, you shouldn't go out riding at night. Now, if you do bike on the street, you need to follow the rules of the road, just like any other vehicle. You've got to obey all road signs and signals. If there's a bicycle lane, stay inside that. If there isn't one, stay on the right side of the road so cars can pass you on the left. And no matter what, don't ride against traffic. Cross the street only at intersections. If you scoot out from between 2 parked cars, drivers won't see you coming. If you're turning from a quiet side street onto a busier road, be sure to stop and wait for a gap in the traffic. Don't just head out into the intersection or... Yeah. Actually, if you want to be even safer, you can learn some hand signals to let people know when you're turning. This is how you signal a left turn. Here's a right turn. And this means you're stopping.